I was fortunate enough this past week to spend a few days down in Hocking Hills. And there were plenty of other people doing the same thing I was. We were taking the trails up and down the hills, seeing the rock formations, but primarily enjoying the beautiful scenery, the fall foliage with all the bright colors. And like most of the people out there, I was taking pictures. Some people used their phones to take pictures. A few had very sophisticated cameras, but people were taking pictures. And as I was doing the same thing, I would take the pictures of the hillside and all the colors, the gold, the yellow, the orange, the burgundy, the red, the green. You put them all together. And I would take the picture, and then I would look at the camera. That's what you do these days. You take a picture and you look. And finally, I even said out loud, I can't do it. I can't capture it. It's too immense, too tremendous. And whenever I try to take a picture, I would just get like a little slice of the scenery, not the entire vista, the panorama. It was kind of disappointing because I wanted somehow to capture the power of what I was experiencing. And that is the exact same feeling I have when I approach this gospel reading about preaching on love. It's too much. There's no way I can capture it. Love God with all that you have. Love your neighbor as yourself, which really means loving yourself appropriately and loving neighbor. And if you read the gospel, it's loving neighbors that you like and loving neighbors that you don't necessarily like. It's all inclusive. And so as I approach this gospel, I think, how can I possibly do justice to it? It's like the beautiful scenery. There's no way I can capture it. It's beyond me. But then I also start thinking about the image of the trees. Because you have this beautiful vista, and it's made up of this tree and that tree and this tree and the hills, and they're all put together. But each of those trees in itself is beautiful. And then if you look at a single tree with all the wonderful formation and color, that tree itself is made up of thousands of individual leaves. So you have the leaf, and you have the tree, and then you have the complete vista of all of them put together. With love, we sometimes see the total picture, the many-faceted, the many layers of beauty, the experience. But sometimes we have to get down to the core. What is love itself? Love God, love yourself, love your neighbor, and what in the world does love mean? The Pharisees were testing Jesus. We've had any number of examples where people were trying to test Jesus. And it's not just the 10 commandments that they were asking about, which is the greatest commandment, but in the book of Deuteronomy, there's a whole bunch of other laws as well. And so Jesus summarizes them, but also points out what's most important, because it's behind and within every one of these commandments to love. You love God, you love your neighbor. I don't know if you've ever noticed, many of the 10 commandments that we read are thou shalt not. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness. But when Jesus says love is open-ended. When it's a statement of not, at the end of the day, okay, I did not kill anybody, I did not hate anybody. But when it says love, you can come to the end of the day and say, yeah, I loved, but did I really love? Did I love fully? So what does it mean to love? What is the leaf that makes up the beauty that changes the world through the power of love? I'd like to say, in its essence, love is an awareness of and a response to the other. We become aware of God and we respond to God. I've been amazed over the years how many times I've talked to people who they might honestly confess in conversation that they rarely think about God. How can you love someone if you don't think about them? We have to be aware of God, first of all, to love. And then we respond to that goodness. In loving neighbor, it's the same thing. Being aware of, being conscious of what's going on. And, it could be those that are easy to love. Have you ever noticed some people are easy to love? There's something that just clicks with you. And others are hard to love. We have to really work at letting God's love go through our heart to reach out to them. In essence, though, we have to be aware of others and respond to them. It's the other and not just about ourselves. That is love. Love is always about the other. Whether it's a capital O as the other being God, or the small o, all the others around us. One of the most powerful experiences I've had in the year 2020 came about because of COVID, and it came about during the shelter-in-place time, probably sometime in April or early May. I was contacted by a nursing home if I would pray with someone there who had COVID and was dying. And they told me, but we can't let you come in. The husband will be there on the outside. You can join him out there. So I drove to the nursing home, and I had been given directions, so I came around behind the building. It was a one-story building. And there was a man there talking to someone through the window. And when he saw me, he recognized that I was the priest. So he stepped way back, maybe about 20 feet back. And I walked up to the window, and the woman inside the window was in sheer agony. She was scared. She was moaning. She was crying for help. It was really overwhelmingly hard. Her bed had been put right up next to the window. And so I talked to her, and she could hear me, and she talked back. I could hear her. And we talked a little bit, and I prayed a little bit. I shared with her what's called the Apostolic Pardon, which has been recommended for cases like this. And then I prayed the Lord's Prayer with her. And as I said it aloud, she prayed with me from the inside, on the other side of the glass. And then I heard a voice from behind me. Her husband was praying too. And in the power of that prayer, I realized the three of us were united with God. The power of God being present at that moment. It was overwhelmingly powerful to me. But there was something else going on at the same time that I haven't said yet. Because when I walked up to the window and I saw the woman, I discovered there was a second person in the room with her. I don't know who the other person was. It was a young woman. She was dressed in the PPE, the mask, the head covering, the gloves, the complete gown. And she had her chair pulled up close to the bed. And with one hand, she was holding the hand of the dying lady. With her other hand, she was very gently rubbing her arm, reminding her that she was not alone. I have no idea who this young woman was. I don't know what group she represented, how she happened to be there, if she was from the nursing home or from hospice or from some other visiting care unit. I don't know. I don't know anything about her. But what she was doing was love in action. Even at a risk to herself, she was reaching out to this woman that was scared to death and was really in pain. But she was somehow trying to lift the burden a little bit. That image, combined with the prayer, the husband, the woman, myself, God, and this young woman, that sums up what love is all about. Love takes the best of our connection with God and our connection with other people. It was love in action, but it's more than love in action. It's a reminder that love is action. You can't claim love unless there's an action connected with it. So one more time, back to the leaves. I talked about the beautiful panorama of colors. I talk about the individual leaf. But there's one more thing to remember as we meditate on leaves. That the leaves are not there just to give beautiful color. They're not there simply to provide shade, which is important and which we relish. But the leaves are primarily there to keep the tree alive. They feed the tree. They take the sunlight. They take the moisture. Remember in grade school we learned about photosynthesis? They do all of that. They feed the tree and they keep the tree alive. That's what love does. It keeps us alive. And it's not just that when we love someone else, we bring life to them, but by loving others, we become more fully alive. God is love. St. John said that. And when we taste love, we have God as part of our lives.